Hi, welcome to my show. Today, my guest is Claudia Vargas. Claudia, I met at a speaking engagement where she was one of the audience, and afterwards we connected. She emailed me, and then we ended up having lunch.
Yes.
Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And during that lunch, I learned a lot more about you. I really liked your background story, and I liked why you were in business as a marketer. It was more than just kind of trying to, that motivation, pushy type of, and just trying to like go to the top, and which is, there's nothing wrong with these things, but there was deeper elements associated with your business, which were actually also connected to your story. So I figured, you know what, I need to have you here to share that because it's, you were recently at the Path of Consciousness retreat. And we had so much fun.
We sure did.
We really had fun. And
We
thank you.
energized.
Yeah, we energized. And thank you for attending that. But so having you here is about, because what the Path of Consciousness is that conscientious type of attitude toward our business, our work, whatever it may be. I mean, if our work is raising our kids, which is a very important work. So what I found with you when we had our lunch is that was what you were all about. We met actually, I think, several times. So I'd like to first ask about your background story. I know that you said that you were born in Mexico City, and if you can share your story with us, and then how you came to build your business, especially as a minority woman, and a mother.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Well, I was blessed enough to come as a teenage. I was 14 when my father, Sam Campos, got transferred to Southfield, Michigan, for what it was going to be only a 2-year contract. And my father and my mother took a leap of faith and decided to come here and give my brother and I an opportunity for a different culture, learn different ways, and also for him to learn a little bit more how he could help with his knowledge. So we came. I remember coming with 16 to 17 luggages.
Wow.
Left. My mom sold everything. We were so excited to start something new. And I remember having dreams about, well, I was a teenager back then. A teenager was a little bit more innocent. So we used to have special games that we used to play among friends. And I remember having, people knocking my window and want to play with me. Obviously, when I came here and I realized I couldn't speak English, that took a lot longer, right, for somebody to approach me and become friends with me because of the lack of language. But it was an amazing experience, and so yeah, that's
What
how we
would you
came.
say that coming as a teenager? I came when I was 10 when we arrived, and I too didn't know any English. But from my experience, because my siblings were all older, I found that myself and my younger brother, it was easier for us to pick up the language. But like, it was a little bit harder for my teenage sister, then it was a little bit harder for my other siblings that were in their 20s, and on. So that's pretty challenging. The language is one of the primary things, especially if you're going to go to school and then you're going to go to work. So what were your major challenges, and how did you overcome them? What were the things, the obstacles that you faced as a teenager, just knowing, not knowing English?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think that not speaking English was the biggest challenge. But also the city where I ended up becoming my home, well, I was the only Mexican. So the other kids have never had exposure to Hispanic people in the community. And I used to be in a school of all girls in Mexico, so I was very religious. So I was not prepared for going to a public school. Very, very different culture. Smoking was allowed in high school. I saw things that were a little bit culture shock for me. So I'm glad that I didn't speak English. I honestly, now that I think about it, um, my lack of language kept me from learning a lot of things that were probably not going to be good for me down the road.
So it kind of protected you.
It sure
It
did.
protected you from getting involved with certain groups and such. I mean, and then your parents, were they kind of, did they see what was happening and try to protect you, or were they kind of not aware even of what was going on?
Well, your parents also have these, they come here to adapt to a new culture. Everything changes. They also go through their own struggles. My
That's right.
mom and dad didn't speak English. My dad was coming here to start in a Mexican company that they help with the auto parts, and so it was an automotive job. But even though the company was Mexican, a lot of the people that were calling were not Mexican. They were buyers or purchasing agents. And he had to go through the struggle of picking up the phone and trying to communicate decisions that were millions and millions of dollars. So it was a lot on my father's end, a lot on my mother's end too, because she will have to drive me to school and try to keep a balance in our household with all these different changes. So it's it's not as easy as, oh yeah, we moved to a new country and everything is okay and everything's gonna be roses. And no, it's a challenge for all the parents that they come. Of course my parents came older, so if it was hard for me to learn English, it was a lot harder for my parents to learn English. So let alone my dad had to make decisions that could possibly change a business. So whatever problems I had, now that I think of my dad's problems, was a lot bigger than my own problems,
Yes.
right?
Well, I mean, it's fascinating that you ended up having a marketing company. Somebody who came as a teenager and didn't know the language, wasn't even able to
Right.
involved in a lot of things, although it was for the good. It was for your benefit not to get involved, but at the same time, that all this language barrier, and then now you have a marketing company that you started in 2017. Um, what gave you this idea? Having your own business and entrepreneurs are, it's not easy, as a woman and minority, and I mean, I guess even if you're a man, anybody in this
Mm-hmm.
field, it's not an easy thing. What happened in the course of your life that led you to start your business? And I'm sorry, what the name of your business? If
It's called CVG
CVG, yeah, CVG
Marketing.
Marketing, and what's the story that led to that? And where are you at right now with how you run your business? What have been the challenges with regards to that? And what have been some of the successes? What have you enjoyed in the process?
Mm-hmm. Well, really, the company started because, again, my parents volunteered for so many years in the community, in the Hispanic community. And through their volunteering, I was exposed to a lot of different things. So when I started having a little bit more free time and was able to volunteer, I started to learn that there were a lot of challenges in my own community. And I was trying to figure out how I could help this community that was being affected by these different businesses that were serving the Hispanic community. So, as I was able to speak more and more with the community, I was able to realize that, yeah, there are other marketing firms that are out there, but they advertise, but they don't really solve the real issues that are happening in the community. So I decided that I was going to be a different kind of marketing company. We were going to be a company that was going to resolve the problems and the issues that were happening to our community, and that they were able to have a choice. Before, they only had options, but now they have a choice, a different choice that could be either I'm going to, go with them, or I'm going to go with them, but with an educated information. So that's how CVG Marketing pretty much started. And I'm happy to see that now people have options, and when they need to go to an immigration attorney, they are able to make an educated decision on what's going to happen to them. And one of the things that I was able to do is do interviews in the different types of businesses and educate the community on the rights. So when they pick a business, they have a background, they can ask questions. And once a month, for example, I interview these businesses with all these different questions that the community have. So once they have the answers, they can make a lot better educated decision about their life. Because sometimes what happens in a lot of our communities is they are told, yes, oh yes, I can help you, just give me this amount and I'm going to be able to help you. And in reality, they are taking for, they take their money and they really don't do anything about it. And because they are in a disadvantage, or because they don't know their rights, they're taking advantage. So my hope is that they have options, and now they are a little bit more protected. So
And see, now you brought me back to exactly the memory of what happened in our discussion. This is what you were trying. Well, actually, this is what you were telling me with regards to how you address your clients' needs or your community's needs. So the underlying service was more than just about saying, you know what, I'm going to highlight your company and then you're going to get more business, although that's part of one of the packages that you provide for businesses. But at the same time, at the heart of what you were doing was to educate the community, and you really cared that some of them were being taken advantage and they would be really in dire need, like at their lowest point, and then people would come and take advantage of them at that point with taking their money or whatever, because they would believe in that so much, especially us understanding the barriers with language. We see that happening even in my community. I see a lot of people just hoping that somebody is going to come and just solve their problem. They'll give them a certain amount of money, that person will, and they get scammed oftentimes. So your company's presence has more of almost like an advocacy for the community associated with it, and I think that's really, really great.
yes, definitely. That's pretty much what CVG marketing differentiates among any other marketing out there. And not only that, but we are also helping American companies reach to the untapped market, which is $1.11 trillion, and because I understand the American culture, and I understand the Hispanic culture, we are able to tell the story the right way from the first time. And it does make a huge difference. I've seen some customers or some prospects who have hired companies trying to reach the Hispanic market with the wrong messages, and they don't understand how their advertising didn't work, or they didn't have any response. And then when I see their graphics, or when I speak with them, I understand, because their message was delivered thinking of the American way. Yes. And it does make a huge difference when somebody understands the different cultures.
Yes. It's sort of, I've traveled quite a bit, and anywhere you go, there's difference in gestures, even gestures,
Mm-hmm.
communication, food. What the colors, what's
Right.
attractive, what certain colors are attractive. So the only person that can really put that kind of detail into it is the person that's from that particular community. And we're such a melting pot, it would just only make sense. Um, I think like every culture is very attractive in its own way, the Italian, the
Mm-hmm.
Polish, the Mexican, the Native Americans. But for me to really have that understanding of something, this is who I would go to, the person from that community. Um, but I would like you to talk a little bit about how you got yourself even into this. Just even it's not an easy task, like to start a business. And I know you're a mother, you're a wife, and you're a mother, and so there's work associated with that. What helps you? Like, how long have you had this idea, and what helps you make the necessary steps? And for somebody that's trying to start their own business but feel overwhelmed, because there are a lot of details, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not as easy as we were talking earlier. How some people make it seem like, well, you just do this, you just do that. I mean, there's certain steps that you have to go A, B, C, D, and to execute from A
Mm-hmm.
to Z. So when did this idea start like simmering in your mind? And what gave you the courage to finally take action and start the company and move forward? And again, as I had mentioned earlier, what was the challenge? What would you say were the challenges? Somebody starting a business, maybe they kind of have to get by, or how do I say it? Like endure some of the
Mm-hmm.
challenges, knowing that this is just part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, ever since I was little, ever since I can remember, I used to sell something.
Mm.
So sales has always been part of me. Even, my father was a buyer. He came here as a buyer and then just, grew um, in 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 his own career and ended up from 2 years staying here until he retired. My mom used to have a little store in our home, and she used to sell clothes. So I always had an example through my own parents. So selling for me came very easy. But like you said, it's very hard to be able to invest because you have to have savings. You need to have knowledge. You need to have sometimes the right contacts. Um, and I think one of the most important things is you truly have to believe in what you are selling. You really have to be very good at it. And sometimes it's also a little bit of luck, and you just have to keep walking, knocking in doors, and trying to convey your message. And I was blessed to have that kind of like a leadership type of role where I always wanted to start something. So actually, when I was in high school, Spanish was, like more like my strength. So I focused on tutoring Spanish and I did private classes or private lessons for Cranbrook students and for my own classmates at Lahser High School in Bloomfield. So I was always kind of that um, trying to think of ways for me to be creative, even though I didn't feel like my English was my strength.
But see, here's what I love about this story is that you recognize your skills and talents, and you responded to that. That's really, despite language barrier or whatever else, you believed in those strengths and you took them and you put them to use for people. That's a wonderful story. That's anybody, that's sometimes all it has to take, and then to commit to it. Like now, so I'd like to share, this is your business. It's just like this is the outcome of something that was started in high school. It was started in you from birth, obviously, but then the fact that little by little is it was picking up. And I'd also like to share. there's this beautiful video too that you shared with me. I'm going to put that on too. It's just a couple of minutes before we get back here.
CVG Marketing is a multicultural advertising agency that helps businesses grow by tapping into a market that is worth a projected $1.7 trillion. Our team of experts can develop and execute a personalized marketing campaign that will suit the needs of your business, including graphic design, commercial video production, and a bilingual social media strategy. We understand how culture and industry intersect and how to place your company in a position of leadership and influence.
I like that video.
Yes, thank you. And it's just, you gotta believe in the strengths, and you gotta believe in your message. And actually, the name of my company is my name, Claudia Vargas Global, CVG. And I believe in me. I believe in what I can do for other people. I believe that this is a story of a 5-year-old that back in Mexico used to sell Milky Way candy bars,
Wow.
And now is here in the United States, 35 years later, and has her own company and is helping American companies understand the Hispanic market and help them deliver their message to us, all the Latin American people. It's not just Mexicans, just because I'm from Mexico, but I'm also very involved with Colombians. I'm involved with Venezuelans. I have friends from Ecuador. I have friends from Nicaragua. And I'm very blessed to understand their message as well. So when a company tells me, I have a project, I am able to deliver their message. And recently I was hired to promote Jürgen Clark, who is a motivational speaker in Latin America. Is the 10th best Latin American motivational. Well, it's not so much a motivational speaker, but he's a very good teaching sales. And my company went to Miami and promoted this amazing person who is American, but who lives in Colombia and who is helping businesses like myself train in this master training of neurosales.
Now, how did somebody like that, for instance, connect with you?
Well,
Was it because trying to see how much is it of you doing outreach, and then does this create an opportunity for other people to kind of see you and approach you? And in his case, how did that happen?
Well, really, my company started when I started opening some Facebook groups. And as I started opening Facebook groups to kind of reach out and help out the community, they will want to go in one of my groups. Then they see that I'm the administrator, and they say, can I come in? And then they see, oh, Claudia Vargas is admitting me. And then I go in Latinos in Michigan, oh, Claudia Vargas is admitting me. Then I go in Los Angeles, and Claudia is admitting me. So they were like, oh, my God, you're all over United States, and you're even all over globally. We want to work with you. So that's really how it opened a lot of doors for me. But the funny thing is that one day I was waking up and I had, there's no Latinos in Detroit. I will check, nothing. I will open the group, not even knowing why I was opening the group. I just knew that I had to open it. And then I opened a group for construction, and then one for artists, and then a group for immigration. And next thing I know, that's how CVG Marketing really started becoming a company, because I was able to, and it was all out of the goodness of my heart, because I took a lot of time away from my own family.
Well, I was going to say, I only have, I have a couple of accounts, Facebook, but it's not easy. It's not easy having different accounts.
Yes, it's not, and it's a lot of inboxes. I get thousands of inboxes from people sending me problems that they want me to solve. And, sometimes I got criticized by my own community saying, Claudia, why so many groups? Why? And it was very hard for me that my own community didn't see the vision that I had. And as a
But
business.
you did. You're a marketer. What you
Yes.
did, you already started the company before you even started the company. You started doing the service before you started the company.
Exactly.
This is really a genius message. I mean, aside, so you're using your skills, but you're also not waiting. You're not waiting for anybody to give you permission, and you're just like, okay, well, I'm using my skills, and hey, guess what? This would be a great company because it's responding to these needs. Well, I only have a few minutes left, and I gotta tell you, I think like there's so many messages here that if you come as a minority, if there's language barriers, if you use your skills and you try to do something that's like for the higher good, that's of service for people, and use your skills and not wait for somebody to really give you permission, put the work in, then within 2 years you were mentioning that now you have this client. That's a big deal, somebody, and then you're flying to Miami. I mean, that's a successful story that would happen within a couple of years. So with just actually like a minute and a half, so any last words that you want to say to anybody who's kind of like maybe inspired by this interview and wants to take a leap and go to the next step? Just a final word that you'd like to give them, maybe.
Just believe in your dream, believe in your vision, believe in your passion. Just follow your heart and don't anyone tell you otherwise. Just do it.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to your company growing more and more because I know that you're going to keep doing very good things for the community. And then as you do that, we'll have you back on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.